Hello and welcome back to Choice Bits of Bliss. My name is Cilla. Today we are going to create the layout for Through the Rainbow, August. We're focusing on purple. And if you saw my video yesterday, you know my little secret. I don't have a lot of purple. I do have this paper pad by Prima that I committed to using papers out of it for my layout. And I thought that I would bring you along for the selecting process. You know, what am I going to use? I want something that is going to let purple peek through around the edges. So this is going to be, because it is just wall-to-wall design, I want to use this one as my background. And then I want something that's a little more neutral to use as, and it's going to be this. So either side is more calm. It isn't going to distract from photos. So we're going to use that. And then I think I need something to use for embellishments. And I like this one for embellishments. So we know that we're going to be doing some fussy cutting. And then I see this one, and it could be my background. And since these are larger, maybe I could get a few of these cut out. So I'm going to tear both of these out for potential backgrounds. And I'm just going to be honest, I love, love, love the background of this. I'm going to use probably some of these as layering elements. So that is where my head is right now. I also like this one for maybe to get my title out of. So let's think about that one. I believe I have torn out one of every design at least. I like these roses as well. So that may come into play. So there is the paper pad. It's called Lavender by Prima. And it's from 2017. So let's get that out of the way. And we're going to start making some decisions about how this layout is going to come together. Now, I'm going to slide a sketch up here because this month in the Mini Kit Monday group, the challenge group, they are doing a sketch your way. So this is the sketch. And you turn it however you want to use it 4 different ways throughout the month. And I'm going to use that sketch to play with my layout. We're going to, I started to say I'm going to pause and make some decisions, but I think I'm going to let you come along in that process. Okay, I have decided that this is going to be my background. And the reason I want this one to be my background is because it's not, it has the tone, the total tone that I want for my background. It's not distracting. And the pattern is repeating such that you're going to see the same thing all the way around. So that is going to be my background for sure. And I'm going to use probably this lower piece for the lower bit for my round element, and I'm going to fussy cut out this to tuck, and I'm going to use what's left of this white to layer with as well. I'm going to use this as I'm going to fussy cut out some butterflies. I will not be using the B-side. My title is more than likely going to come from here. And then I may use some of these roses, fussy cut out. I'm going to cut out some of these. These are going to be my cluster bases. So this is going to be a really kind of vintage vibe. And I love a vintage vibe. I love it. I'm also going to use some of these clusters for tucking pieces, and I will not be using any of this side. Okay, so now that I've got some decisions made, I'm going to get some work done. I am going to pause so that you don't have to watch all of that. Well, when I come back, some things will be laid down. I wanted to show you a little bit about intentional cutting. When you don't have, and I have several different copies of this piece of paper, but I don't like to be just wasteful just because. So I was very intentional about how I wanted to use this paper. Now, in looking at the sketch, we have a circular element, we have a band, and we have a scallop at the base of that band. We have 2.5 by 2.5 photos. We have 3 of them over on the side, and we have 2 4x6 photos. These are the large elements. There's also 2 tags, and we'll come to that. But I wanted to show how I'm able to get out of one piece of paper a lot of that function of the sketch. So we're going to start with the big band. Now, the 4x6 photos, I know I have to have at least 6 inches because they're vertical photos, and I'm going to use 2 vertical photos. So I made the decision that I'm going to cut this element because I said I wanted to fussy cut that out, and I used an X-Acto knife to cut that out to use as a layering piece to tuck. And I know this hole I can hide behind photos and the other elements, so I'm not worried about that. But I knew I needed 6.5 inches at least to be able to mat my 4x6 photos on. So I know I want to use the white side. And this at the bottom, I'm going to do a scallop punch because it's a different pattern than the white, but they work together. Then the next decision I made was I wanted to mat my 2.5 by 2.5 photos. So I thought I need at least 2 3/4 by 2 3/4, but I gave myself a 3 by 3. So I cut 3 inches, and that left me with this bit here at the bottom that I could get my circular element out of. This is scraps. This is all I have left of that one piece of paper. I've got a fussy cut element. I have my circular element. I have my large band that's 6.5 inches. I also used what is typically called the branding strip or the zip strip. It's just called different things. But I used all of that. And I have these 3 by 3 squares that I'm able to mat additional photos with. So this is what I actually have left. I'm pretty proud of that. And I'm going to put it on this background. So let's just start laying our pieces together, how they're going to look according to the sketch. I'm going to put this here at the top. I still have to cut this piece, and these are going to layer through here. There's supposed to be 3 photos here, and there's going to be, let's just use this one. There's going to be 2 tags up here. So I need to cut these down just a little bit to make this work. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these down to 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. So they'll just have kind of a slight mat for 3 elements that are going to be here, and then I'll have 2 tags sticking up at the top. Or I may decide there's enough going on that I don't need 2 tags. Now, because I've got this hole here, I can turn this piece this way, and you'll never know. And then do my 2 4x6 photos here. You'll never know that there was a hole there. See how this is working out? It's working out perfectly. I'm going to pause again. I'll be right back. So I've made the decision to make my tags out of, this is the leftover 3 by 3, and this is my scraps. And I'm going to make my tags out of these 2 pieces. And I like this width because it's not super wide. And I wanted to also mention, I've inked the edges of those elements. I'm using, I just have to tell y'all about this, it's so crazy. I'm using this Stampin' Up! Ink that I have had, oof. Y'all, I bought this in the early 2000s. It is chocolate chip. They don't have this color anymore. And they were discontinuing it when I bought it, because that's what my Stampin' Up! Demonstrator told me. Oh, we're going to discontinue that color. And I love it. I love it because it's the perfect in between brown and black. It's a beautiful color. So because you told me they were discontinuing it, and this pad is still juicy, by the way. Because you told me they were discontinuing it, I bought the refill. And I have never cracked the lid on the refill. Now, I'm going to say I've had this at least 15 years. At least. And it is probably my most used ink pad. So there's that. We're going to cut these down so that I can make my tags. My scraps are getting even scrappier. And let's see. I need to cut off this side. And I don't care if they're the same exact width. That's not important to me. We're just going to create tags. Now, a little trick that I do to make a tag is I fold it in half gently and snip. So that this way, my sides are identical. And this slight bow tells me where I need to place my hole. And then that's where I will punch my hole. Because that's, you know, pretty close to the center. I buy these from, they're hole reinforcers, and I buy those off of Amazon. I use them all the time. It is one of my favorite non-scrapbook purchases. I use it all the time. Come on, there we go. And then we're going to tuck these. Let's use this one. You know what? This is looking really kind of busy up here. That may not, these may not live. I don't know. I hadn't decided about that. We've got them made just in case I decide to keep them, but just looking a little up here. Okay, now I want to, these are the major elements in the sketch. This is the bones of it. And I still want to get in these bits and pieces, some of them. So I need to find out what my favorite ones are. And I need to grab my title and decide how I want that to look. These have got some good sayings on here, so you could get almost any kind of title out of here. Just thinking. Okay, I've got some ideas for formulating. I'll be right back. Okay, I've made a lot of decisions and I've pretty much gotten my layout completed. There's a little bit that we don't need. I fussy cut the word everyday out of this cut apart. I didn't really want the dots. I'm just trying to bring more lightness around my photos because it starts kind of getting dark, in my opinion, strictly my opinion. I cut down my photos to 5.5 because this just had more sky up here. And the sky extending higher and higher does not really tell the story. You can still see the sunset. You can still see the giant lilac bush. You just don't need the sky going up forever. So that's why I cut those down to 5.5. And it allows us to see more of the background. And that brings more lightness to my layout. Because to me, in my opinion, it's just looking a little dark. And I decided not to put photos over here on the right side, simply because, excuse me, I didn't have any more photos, number one. And I decided to use my butterfly elements. to layer over there, and I wanted to keep the scale alternating. So I wanted small, large, small, and I wanted the light colors to be leading toward the tags that have the white hole reinforcers. So that's just some design bits that I had in my head. Certainly not what has to be done. Create the layouts that you want to create and in the way that you want to create them. Part of design is do what's pleasing to your eyes. You know what? There's all kinds of rules that have been broken in design. So you do what is pleasing to you and makes sense to you. Now my base, they're wonky, so I want these to be straight. That's just, and once again, that's me. Nothing that has to be done. I'm finished with these scraps. Those are going in the garbage. And I want a little journaling piece, and I think I'm going to use this one here to kind of anchor down here and do my journaling. So that makes my design kind of diagonal if I anchor my journaling here. And I'm just going to talk about the fact that we were walking Kayla and noticed, of course you couldn't help but notice the beautiful sunset across the golf course. And I wanted to feature this really, it's a huge lilac bush. And that is my layout. Thank you so much for joining me for August Through the Rainbow. We are going to chat again soon. Bye-bye.